त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिसुदेशिकेन्द्रं द्वैपायनं सूत्रकृतं मुनीन्द्रं श्रीशङ्करं भाष्यकृतं यतीन्द्रं मद्देशिकञ्चापि नमामि विद्यै। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञान गणः प्रत्यगर्तो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Pranams everyone. We are in the second chapter. Bhagavan had actually started the Gita Upadesha in Sloka 11, and from Sloka 12 onwards he has started explaining the features of Atma. Bhagavan's idea is actually to ensure that Arjuna's sorrow is relieved, and Arjuna's sorrow is because he thinks Bhishma and Drona will die. And Bhagavan is actually trying to address that issue in various manner or through various dimensions. The first one he takes up is, if Arjuna thinks that it is Bhishma and Drona's Atma that is going to die, then he says, Bhagavan basically explains, Atma Nityah. Atma is eternal. In Sloka 12, Bhagavan established that Atma is Nityah. Sloka 12, if you remember, the Sloka 12 is Natve Vaham Jatunasam Natvam Neme Janadipa Nachaiva na Bhavishyamaha Sarve Vayamatah Param. So there has not been a time when these kings were not alive, when you were not alive, when I was not alive. There will not be a future when they will not be alive, you will not be alive, and I will not be alive. So through a double negative statements, Bhagavan established that Atma Nityah. Atma is eternal. And then in Sloka 13, Bhagavan basically established Atma Nirvikaraha. Atma Nirvikaraha means Atma does not undergo change. Anything that is eternal cannot undergo change, or anything that does not undergo change is eternal. He says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara. He said, just as the body goes through some changes, in the same way the Sukshma Sariram also undergoes changes. And a wise man does not worry about those things. And we saw that when we actually did the vichara on that sloka, we established that Atma's reflection, Chidabhasa, is evident on the Atma's Chidabhasa is reflected in the mind, and then that reflection further reflects on the body, thus making both the mind and the body sentient. The sentiency in the mind, the sentiency in the body is borrowed from the Atma, from the original consciousness. So the body undergoes changes, the mind undergoes change, but the Atma is Nirvikaraha. And a person who understands that the body undergoes change, a person who understands that the mind undergoes change, the mind does not remain constant. One day, this minute we will feel good, the next minute the mind will feel bad. This change will keep happening. And Bhagavan says, Dhiraha na mukhyati tatra. A wise man does not worry about such things, over such things. So Bhagavan has started on the features of Atma. Now I said between 14 and 20, between 12 to 25, the 14th Sloka and the 15th Sloka are exceptions. As in, it doesn't talk about Atma's features. Bhagavan slightly deviates. We will see that. So we'll take up Sloka number 14. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Payino Nityaha Tam Stitikshasva Bharata Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Payino Nityaha Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So, as I said, from 14 and 15, Bhagavan is talking from the standpoint of Anatma. Remember, Bhagavan started the Vichara on Bhishma and Drona's death, and he wanted to remove this kind of sorrow from Vikalpa, this or that. Arjuna's sorrow on Bhishma and Drona is, Bhagavan is not sure whether Arjuna is unhappy or sorrow because Arjuna feels that Bhishma and Drona's Atma will die, or whether Arjuna's sorrow is on the account of Bhishma and Drona's Anatma that it will die. So are you sad on the account of Bhishma and Drona's Atma or Anatma? So Bhagavan is trying to address both the possibilities. So here, if Arjuna had said, look, Atma Nirvikara hai, Atma Nitya hai, I am fine with that, but I am worried about the body. And we say the death related, whenever we have a death related sorrow, we care about that body only. We always say, this person was alive in this body and I don't want this body to die. So in our experience also, we feel sorrow, or we feel whenever there is a death, we feel the sadness or sorrow on account of the body's death only. Bhagavan is saying, do not feel sad on that account too. And as I said, what is samsara? Samsara is basically resistance to facts. The body is bound to die, and therefore there has to be an attitude of acceptance towards it. Everything in this world keeps changing. Today a person would be talking nice to us, tomorrow they would not be talking nice, then the day after tomorrow they will again start talking nice to us. We have to accept them. There will be changes in the relationship, there will be changes in the body, there will be changes in the mind. Bhagavan says, accept them all. There will be in family, they will say, this person has started changing because he has started listening to his wife, and then they will feel sad about that. The influence of this lady has changed him. Not that the problem happens because there is no acceptance to change. The change could be anything. We could get success, we could get failure, we could get humiliation, we could get fame. Bhagavan says we will have to accept them. Question is, why should I accept the change? Bhagavan says simple reason. Shastra says simple reason. Because change is inevitable. Something that is inevitable, if we are not able to accept them, it will result in sorrow. Not that the change is the cause for sorrow. The cause for sorrow is that failure to accept the change is the cause for sorrow. Same thing, the situation around us is not giving us trouble or sorrow. It is our mind which is failing to accept the situation which is giving us sorrow. And Bhagavan says, by nature, everybody in this world, every jiva who is born in this world has to undergo pain, has to undergo sorrow, has to undergo some difficult situations. This is the niyati, this is the nature of this world. This is true for everyone. Even for avatars like Rama and Krishna, they had to struggle, they had to go through painful situations. If we look at Rama's case, Rama on that day was actually coronated. Remember, if somebody has been given a kingdom, would that person be able to sleep? We will be so excited. If we go and meet somebody whom we like and we come back, or we had spent a jolly good time with someone, when we come back, we will not be able to sleep easily. The mind will be lingering there. But apparently on that day of coronation, Rama slept peacefully. And then the very next day, Rama was told that he had to go to forest, not only relinquish the kingdom, but he had to relinquish everything and go to the forest for not just one day, for 11 years. Or is it 12? Then Rama had come back, and according to Valmiki, Rama had slept equally well that night also. There was no problem for him to go to sleep at all. So, two things here. Rama is first able to accept it. That is one thing that we have to see. He has been equanimous. He has been able to take things in a equipoised manner. But more than that, what we have to understand is, even avatars would have to go through pain and sorrow and all these problems. So every human, all humans, we will face some amount of success, some amount of failure. We will have sukha, dukkha, everything. Shastra says, accept them. And Bhagavan here says, develop tolerance. He says, develop titiksha. Titiksha, if you remember, is one of the sadhana chatushtaya. One of the qualifications for Vedanta. Qualifications of four qualifications: Viveka, Vairagya, Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. And within that Shatka Sampatti comes Titiksha. Titiksha means tolerance. And Shastras say tolerance is a very important virtue for a person to get moksha. Tolerance and patience. If one does not have tolerance or patience, it is not possible to get moksha. If they don't have it, the spiritual progress also could be very slow. One should not get disheartened by unfavorable conditions around them. Patience is necessary. In fact, Bhagavan will talk about patience in later slokas also. Here, Bhagavan is teaching us to have an attitude of acceptance, tolerance. If we go to the sloka, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya. Kaunteya means, O Arjuna, Matra. Matra means sense organs. Mantra means sense organs. Not the tablets matra. Ma means to know. To experience is ma. The word pramanam has also come from that. Ma means to experience. Tra means instrument. So matra means instrument of experience. Instruments of experience. What are the instruments of experience for us? The Pancha Jnanendriyas. When we talked about anatma, we talked about pancha jnanendriyas, pancha karmendriyas, pancha prana, and then we also talked about antakarana. The pancha jnanendriyas, the 5 sense organs, are called as matra. Matra means sense organs. Matra sparsha stu, sparsha. Sparsha tu means and objects. Sparsha means objects here. Sense objects. Sparsha means contact. So objects of contact. Objects of contact means all the sensory objects. The relationship between the sense organs and the objects is called as sparsha. So whether we like it or not, we have sense organs. And because we have sense organs and there are objects around us, definitely the sense organs are going to interact with these sense objects. I am going to a place, I have to keep my eyes open, my eyes fall on certain things. I cannot avoid that relationship, I cannot avoid that contact. We can say, okay, I am willing to close my eyes. But even before we close the eyes, we could have seen something. Then even if we close the eyes, the ears are open. I am bound to hear somebody commenting about me or somebody commenting about somebody else. I am going to hear them. So I cannot plug my ears. I have to keep it open because I need it for transactional purposes. And similarly, I cannot keep my nose closed. I have to breathe. So when I keep my nose open, there are certain smells that are going to enter my nose. So sense objects and sense organs, they are going to interact at all times. Certain things we can try to avoid, we can try to close, but many of the organs we cannot close, and therefore these sense organs and the sense objects will interact. We cannot avoid this interaction. And because the sense organs and the sense objects interact, what does happen? What do they happen? Bhagavan says, what will we get when they interact? Bhagavan says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada. Shita ushna sukha dukkha. Shita ushna. Shita means cold. Ushna means hot, heat. Sukha, pleasure. Dukkha, pain or sorrow. So this sense organs and sense objects, when they interact, obviously it will cause Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. They will give heat or cold, pleasure or pain. These are set of opposite experiences. And whenever sense organs and sense objects interact, they are bound to give some opposite experiences. And what does Bhagavan say basically here? The world is full of opposite these experiences only. The world is going to be full of these opposite experiences only. So there are three levels we'll see. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, and then we can also take Mana, Apamana. Shita, Ushna is at the body level. Physical body level, there's one set of opposite experience is the heat and cold at the physical body level. Then at the mind level, you can say the happiness and sorrow. Sukha, Dukkha. We are bound to feel happy at sometimes, we are bound to feel unhappy at sometimes. Then Mana, Apamana is at the intellect level. Somebody praises us and somebody brings us down. So that is at the intellect level. So all this happens because of the interaction between matra sparsha, between the sense organs and the sense objects. Is it possible not to interact? No, we don't have a choice. It will interact. So when the body interacts with this world, we get these sort of experiences. And it is not that the object is going to give only one set of experience at all times. For example, in the summer or in a tropical space, in a tropical area, I would want to have air conditioner. But the moment I go to a kind of a cold place like a hill station or in a cold Arctic place, I am looking out for heater. I want heat when I am in Arctic place or in cold climates, and when I am in a place where it's extremely hot, in a tropical or equatorial regions, I am looking for chillness and cold. So in the middle of summer, aircon gives me pleasure, happiness. In the winter, the same aircon, if somebody switches on, it gives me pain, sorrow. I find it cold. So the same thing is possible, the same object is capable of giving happiness at once and sorrow at another time. The whole world is anitya. So all this pleasure, pain, heat, cold, mana, apamana keeps coming and going. So Bhagavan here is saying in the next line, Agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Agama payina. All these feelings, which is pleasure, pain, sukha, dukkha, or shita, ushna, they are all subject to arrival and departure. Agama payina. Apayina. So, and they are subject to arrival and departure, and not only that, they are impermanent, anityaha. Agama payino nityaha. We'll have to say agama apayinaha anityaha. Anityaha means they are impermanent, which means I am not going to feel this sorrow throughout my life. I get sorrow, I am not going to feel sorrow for the entire life. From now on, I am only going to be in the state of sorrow. That doesn't happen. Or I am feeling happy now, the entire life I am going to be only happy. It doesn't happen. It is impermanent. It only lasts for few moments, few days, few weeks at the most. So we will have to reflect on all these points that Bhagavan wants to convey. First of all, he wants to convey interaction is impossible to avoid. And whenever interaction, the possible opposite experiences will happen. Opposite experiences need not always give the same set of experiences from the same objects. And not only that, even if they are subject to arrival and departure. And not only that, they are impermanent, they are not going to last forever. So these are the points that we will have to reflect on what Bhagavan says here and what he wants to convey, and we will have to understand that. When something we don't like, we do not like certain things, and it happens around us, so we become unhappy, we become sad. And we become sad in such a manner that we think this situation is going to last forever. That is how we get sorrow. But Bhagavan says, do not think that way. The sadness is not going to last. Even if you wish it to last forever, it would not last. And it is the same for joyful situations also. The joyful situations also do not last. They are all subject to arrival and departure, and therefore mentally be ready to welcome them. Do not try to resist them. When they come, welcome them. Whether it is painful situation, whether it is joyful situation, whether it is Shita, whether it is Ushna, whether it is going to give me happiness or sorrow. Agate swagatam kuryat. Gachantam na nivarayat. When it goes, be prepared to send them off. Do not try to restrict them. Do not try to hold them back. Certain things in life we want to send them off permanently. But it is not in our choice. It is not in our hands. It keeps coming back. And therefore be ready for both. Now this sloka is important. If we understand this sloka, the fear in our mind will go. Because more than the actual situation itself, the problem for us is the fear and therefore the sadness that comes out of the fear. The fear that it might happen, the fear that it might give me sorrow is probably more in our mind than the sorrow that will happen when the event actually occurs. I think this person might come to my house today, and therefore I will feel unhappy, or I will feel unnerved, or I don't want this person at my place. I am feeling unhappy about it. I will feel unhappy about it. So the fear that this person will come and create problems is actually more in my mind. That fear and the sorrow that the fear will bring me is much more than the actual sorrow that the person will give you when the person is at home. So now and that is our problem. And now when Bhagavan says, Agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharatha, so just welcome them when they come. When they go, be happy or be unhappy, it's fine. Either way they are going to come and go. If we let it leave, if we let it go like that, we would not have fear. Because it is not going to last forever. Bhagavan says, it is not going to last. Anityaha. And therefore Bhagavan says, Tam stitikshasva bharata. Bharata, O Arjuna, titikshasya tan. Titikshasya tan. Endure them. Endure them. How should we endure them? When we say endure them, it doesn't mean like endurance with complaints. I am enduring it but with a grudge. Not that way. Achintaya sahanam titiksha. Accepting it without any kind of resistance is called titiksha. Titiksha doesn't mean that I am actually grumbling, I am actually complaining, I am actually crying, and then accepting it. Titiksha means accepting it without any kind of resistance. So this is what Bhagavan wants to convey in this sloka. From an anatma standpoint, the body, mind and the intellect are bound to have various experiences, opposite kinds of experiences, and they are not going to last forever. They are subject to coming and going, and therefore accept it. Therefore endure it. Now there is another meaning for this matra. Matra means matraha. Object of awareness is also called as matraha. The world is object of our experience. So matraha means the world. Sparshaha means the same. What is experienced is called as sparsha. So what comes to my awareness and what becomes my object of experience gives me Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. So what comes to my awareness and what becomes my object of experience gives me Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. In other words, in this city, in this world, There are many people who live in this place, in this. Not everyone gives me Sukham and Dukkham. Only people whom I know, they give me Sukham or Dukkham, or only whom I am linked to, or only whom I am related to. Related to in the sense, in the form of friendship, colleagues, neighbors, whatever. Wherever we are able to have a kind of a name to that relationship, only those persons are capable of giving me pleasure or pain, Sukham or Dukkham. Bhagavan says those have to be accepted. When we say this is acceptance, see, with this kind of slokas, it is easy for advise others, and it is easy for us to tell ourselves also at times. Just accept them. But practically speaking, it is difficult. So acceptance is a value. It is a very important value. It is a very difficult value that we have to cultivate. Whenever we are giving advice, it is easy for us to give the advice and also say, if I were in your situation, I will be able to accept it. And if the situation, one particular situation comes to us, we will crib, we will cry, we will grumble, we will complain. And when somebody points that out, we will say, your situation is different, mine is different. Mine is not something that you will be able to accept. So we will try to justify. Acceptance is an important virtue. Our intellect has to accept. When in summer, my body is going to feel the heat. So I cannot cry and grumble because the weather is hot. I will have to have some patience. I will have to have some titiksha. I will have to undergo some titiksha. So if the aircon is switched on, it's going to take some time to cool the place. So before that, I should not grumble. It is going to take some time. So what? So I will go through this pain. Doesn't matter. Because after all, it's not going to last. Because I know the aircon is going to get cold. The room is going to get cold in a short time. So why to grumble then? It's going to go away anyway. And here Bhagavan, what he wants us to say, what he wants to convey here is, see, acceptance is a value which is very difficult to cultivate. And acceptance can happen only if the intellect is convinced. It does not happen at the mental level. It has to happen at the intellect level. Acceptance is not a mental virtue, it's an intellectual virtue. And for the intellect to do or inculcate something, it has to be convinced. And what is the what is the statement that Bhagavan gives for the intellect to convince? Bhagavan says, Agama payino agama apayinaha anityaha. First of all, matras parshastu Contd sitoshna sukadakada. These interactions are going to happen, accept it. These interactions are going to give you pairs of opposites, accept it. These pairs of opposites are going to come and go, accept it. This is anityam, accept it. So he is giving you various reasons to the intellect, for the intellect to get convinced why I should accept. If we say accept it, the mind or the intellect will not accept it. We'll have to give a reason why I should accept it. And why we should accept it? It is inevitable. They are impermanent. They are subject to arrival and departure. Those are the reasons Bhagavan gives. Anityaha. So Bhagavan says anityaha. These are anityaha. Anyway, it's not going to last forever. But what do I do until it is going to last? Bhagavan or the Shastra says, convert that uncomfortable situation, convert that unwanted situation, convert that situation into a tapas. convert that as, if you take it in the negative, if you want to give a negative way, you can say, okay, this is my karma. I am going through this pain. I am going through this heat. I am in the middle of summer. I am on the road. I don't have an umbrella. There is no shade, and there is no vehicle. I have to get now all the sun on my head. One way to grumble is, or one way to accept is, one is grumbling, but there is no use. One way to accept is to say, okay, this is my karma. The positive way of doing it is converting that into a tapas. Saying, okay, Bhagavan, I am doing it for you. Consider this as my tapas towards you. Whatever I am going through as a pain is I am going through for your sake. I am actually, in Sanskrit we say arpana. I am actually offering it to you. So we can convert that into a tapas. So my body is feeling cold. I'll offer it as an offering to you. So in that way also we can overcome sadness. And also to remember, no situation is going to last. No sorrowful situation is going to last. No happy situation is going to last. Certain situations can be changed. Whichever situations can be changed, attempt it, and if it can change, fantastic, very well, be happy with it. If certain situations, even after you trying, does not change, accept them. And in certain situations, you cannot change them at all, accept them. Changing others, don't even attempt. Because we will always result in a failure. We cannot change ourselves. How are we able to change others? We cannot change our grumbling nature into a accepting nature. How do we expect others to change? So changing others, do not even attempt. And only the faster we are able to accept all these kind of pairs of opposites, the faster will be our spiritual growth. Our spiritual growth, we can see it, we can feel it. As we get titiksha, our spiritual progress will also be faster. So here, why does Bhagavan say this to Arjuna? Bhagavan says, death is inevitable, Arjuna. So no point getting sad over Bhishma and Drona's death. What you need to have is an attitude of acceptance. So that is what Bhagavan wants to convey in this sloka. Now next is sloka. Sloka 15. Yam hi napyatayante purusham purusharshaba samadukha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpate. Yam hi napyatayante purusham purusharshaba samadukha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpate. So here Bhagavan is sharing the benefit that one gets by being patient. Or what does one get when he is able to take sukha and dukkha in the same manner? Or we can say, what does one gain or what does one benefit when the person has developed an attitude of acceptance? Bhagavan says this faculty of this endurance, titiksha, this inner strength, it is very important. This faculty of endurance, the mental strength, the inner strength is called titiksha. If you see this mental endurance, if you see the top sports persons, forget the top sports persons, any field, if somebody wants to achieve at the highest level, then they will definitely have titiksha. Titiksha is a virtue you will see in all top, be it sportsmen, intellectuals, whatever. If they are doing very well in their field, they will definitely have Titiksha. What is this mental endurance at our level? The first and foremost is Titiksha means not to react immediately. The problem comes for us that we want to react immediately, not to get irritated immediately, not to punish the other person immediately, not to find fault immediately, not to get sorrow immediately. The moment I get to hear a news, I immediately want to react. So that has to be avoided. Because when the endurance is less, the irritation comes fast. And that irritation alone, it manifests itself as anger. And from anger alone comes himsa. We want to hurt the other person through words, through action. So irritation has to be avoided. So how to not get irritated? By not reacting immediately. So we will have to put a pause. Whenever we hear something, we don't immediately let the mind wander, or even if the mind wanders, do not allow the words to speak them out. And the lack of endurance alone is the cause for all later problems. And then once we do it, then we feel bad for doing it. If the person reflects properly, then the person will think and then reflect and say, I need not have reacted. So this is what Bhagavan says. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purushashabha. Purushashabha is Arjuna. Yam, and then there is also another Purusham. Yam Purusham, Purusham Yam means a person whom Yete means these. Yete means these sense organs, or these sense organs and objects. Bhagavan is still continuing from the last sloka. Matra sparsha. These sense organs, Yete here means matra sparsha. The sense organs and the sense objects. And basically it refers to all the changing world. All the sensory objects are subject to change. The body, the sign, even the sense organs undergo change. Body, mind, all the sense organs undergoes change. So yete na vyatayantyanti. Vyatayantyanti means they do not disturb. To the person whom the sense organs and objects do not disturb, what happens to him? Sama dukkha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. Sama dukkha sukham. Sama dukkha sukham means samaha is equanimous in what? Dukkham and sukham. He is equanimous in pain and pleasure. He is equanimous in sorrow and joy. He is equanimous in all kinds of situations. See, the thing is, once the mind takes it as sukham, once the mind takes it as dukkham, then it is difficult to be equanimous. So if we have to be equanimous, we have to stop letting the mind to think that it is sukham or dukkham. It's a very subtle way of addressing or identifying the situation. Once the mind has taken it that it is a dukkham, then it is not possible for me to control the mind and say, okay, be equanimous. So the idea would be to actually see if the situation is sukham or dukkam, not to have a feeling that this is my sukham, this is my dukkam, rather take it as udasina. Doesn't matter, sukham or dukkam. It doesn't, for me it is the same. So before getting into the mind, treating them as equal. And what does Bhagavan call this person? He calls this person again Dhiram. Dhiram means wise. This word is Dhiraha. A couple of slokas before also we saw this Dhiraha. Dhiraha is often used in Upanishads. Dhiraha means a discriminative person. In this case, a person who knows to accept, what to not accept and what to accept. So where remedies are available, where things he can change, he will not blindly accept the situation, but goes forth, put the efforts to change. But he will also understand his limitations and the world's limitations. The changing nature of the world, he understands, and he will not try to change the changing nature of the world. Then he says, Bhagavan says, Saha somrtatvaya kalpate. Saha he alone, only that kind of a person. Kalpate amrtatvaya. Kalpate means becomes fit. For what? Amrtatvaya, for immortality. It's a very profound statement. That person is alone fit for immortality, means that person alone is fit for moksha. That person alone is fit for self-knowledge. That person alone is fit for Atma Jnana. Who? One who treats Sukham and Dukkham equally. One who does not get affected by the sense organs and interactions. So this is important. So what does Bhagavan says here? Acceptance and patience have huge benefit. And why does he say that? Only then the sadhakas, people who are in this path like us, will imbibe these values with willingness. One who is calm, one who has a tranquil mind, only that person is fit for this knowledge. There is a Subhashitam. Utame kshanakopasya madhyame gatika dvayam adame syat ahoratram papishte maranantakah. A Uttama Purusha, an evolved person, for that person anger will come, but kshanakopasya, it will come for a moment and he will recover. For a evolved person, Uttama Purusha. Madhyame gatika dvayam. For a mediocre person, it will last for 1 to 1.5 hours. Gatika dvayam is 48 plus 48. Roughly 1.5 hours. Adameshyat ahoratram. For the lowest person, it lasts throughout the day and the night. The anger is always there. Papiste maranantakaha. The lowest of the lowest, the papi, the one who is committed sins, for that person the anger continues up till his death. Some people say, I will not forgive until death. Even if you forgive, even if you don't forgive, it is not going to change anything. Only thing, our mind will have a problem. And this particular Subhashitam talks about that person being a papi. So what Bhagavan says is accept. And only when you accept, you will be able to move forward spiritually. See, titiksha does not mean total freedom from reaction. It doesn't say that this person should be emotionless. No. It means this person has the capacity to manage one's own emotion. That's why we say even uttame kshanakopasya. Even for a spiritually evolved person, anger might come, but it will last only for a moment. And only a person who has this titiksha can quietly study Vedanta. Only a person who enjoys such a mind, equanimous mind, that mind alone is fit for Vedantic study, for Vedantic inquiry, for a philosophical journey. A disturbed mind, an angry mind, an unhappy mind, that cannot study Vedanta. A worried mind will not be able to study Vedanta. A complaining mind will not be able to accept Vedanta. A irritating mind will not be able to probe into the deeper truths. So here in Sloka 14 and 15, Bhagavan speaks about Anatma, and from Sloka 16, Bhagavan will shift back to Atma, and Sloka 16 is a very complex sloka. It's a very complex sloka. It will take some bit of understanding. We will try to do some vichara in the next class. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll see again in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.